Shh! Owen pressed his finger to his lips and motioned for Travis and Stumpy to duck behind the barn door. He peeked through the crack in the wrapped boards. Viola was tromping across the yard, swinging a Girl Scout canteen with one hand and pushing at her glasses with the other. "Dang," Owen whispered. "She's coming this way." Travis grabbed a finger up toward the hall loft or often nodded. The three boys dashed across the dirt floor of the barn and scurried up the rickety ladder to the loft. They flopped down on their stomachs, their cheeks pressed against the hay-over floor, and waited. "I know y'all are in there, Owen." Violet's ignorating voice drifted into the barn. Travis poked Owen with an elbow, and Stumpy made a little snort noise. Owen flipped a hand at both of them and mouthed, "Be quiet." Velissa's sandals made a slapping noise as she entered the barn and stopped at the bottom of the ladder. "I know y'all are in there." That ignorant voice slithered up the ladder and circled around Owen. "Dang, that girl was sure annoying. What are y'all doing?" The voice pounded Owen on the back of the head. The slapping sandals moved away from the ladder and shuffled over to the corner of the barn. "What are y'all building?" Owen lifted his head. The tiniest bit of peered over the edge of the loft. Viola was rummaging through all the stuff, and Travis and Stumpy had spent all morning gathering. Rolls of chicken wire, tomato stakes, baling wire, twine, and old door hinges. Viola poked at a roll of chicken wire. "I know what y'all are building," she said. Travis pierced his lips and glared down at Viola. Stumpy's eyes grew big, round, as he looked at Owen. "In what now kind of way?" Owen crawled to the rear of the loft until he got to a milk crate full of tractor parts. He grabbed a greasy rubber van belt and a handful of rusty nuts and bolts, and a broken gauge of some sort. Then he crawled to the edge of the loft and began flinging the things down to the barn floor, trying to get close to Violet as possible without actually hitting her. The bolts made a pinging noise as they hit the garden tools and the engine parts, and ricocheted off the wheelbarrow and the lawn. The gauge skittled over the dirt floor and hit the wall of the barn with a crash, followed by a tinkle of broken glass. A fan belt landed right on Violet's sandal. She jerked her foot away, gazed coolly up at Owen. "Y'all are building something for that?" said Old Frog. She said, giving her glasses a nudge up the bridge of her nose with her thumb. "His name is Choey, and he's not sad," Owen called down from the loft. Violet picked up the fan belt and twirled it around her finger. "Frogs don't have names. Says who?" Travis hollered down at Violet. Stumpy pushed some hay off the edge of the loft. "Yeah, says who," he said. Violet brushed hay off of her and glared up at the boys. "Says me, and anyone else on the planet with half a brain." She tossed the fan belt onto a pile of chicken wire. "Frogs don't have names, and I don't want names." Frogs want to be frogs and live where frogs are supposed to live. Oh yeah? Travis said. Oh yeah, Stumpy said. Your mother's calling you, Owen said. As soon as the words left his mouth, Owen's stomach clenched up into a ball of anger. Why did he have to go and say that again? First of all, he said it all the time. Second of all, Violet never blinked an eye when he said, so what is the point? And third of all, Violet's mother never did anything but sit on the porch, her bathrobe, looking at magazines. The only time Owen had ever seen Violet's mother step one foot on the porch was the time when she went to the flea market and came back with a bunch of tiki torches. Violet had told him the tiki torches were from Hawaii, were for a Hawaiian Luna party. And Owen had peeked through the edge every day for nearly a week to see the Hawaiian Luna party, but all he ever saw was a pile of tiki torches and a barbecue grill full of rainwater. Violet pushed aside the tomato stakes with a toe of her sandal. She inspected the tangled roll of the bawling wire and squinted through her thick glasses at a rusty door hinge. Y'all building a cage? She said. Owen hurried down the ladder and grabbed the door hinges from her. He jammed them into his pocket and said, "Go away." "Yeah, go away?" Travis jumped off the last step of the ladder and stood between Violet and the pile of stuff. His feet separated his arms and folded, his chin stuck out. Stumpy jumped from halfway down the ladder, landed on the barn floor with an oomph. "You don't really need hinges, you know." Violet nodded toward the bawling wire, and stapled would work better than wire. Staples, are you for paper? You ninny?" Travis said. "Yeah," Stumpy said. "Staples are for you, ninny." But Owen stayed quiet, and he was trying to keep his ignoration from getting the best of him and turning him into a foot-stomping baby. But it was hard because he knew Violet was right about Staples. And he knew she didn't mean staples like the little ones for paper. She meant those heavy-duty ones like his father used to staple plastic over windows in winter at the old house on Tuplet Road. "I know where's the staple gun," Violet said. "Grab. Bring her canteen off the hay bale." She turned to Owen and looked and smugged. Owen hated when Violet looked and smugged. More than anything, he wanted to say where. But he knew that Violet wanted him to say where, which was why she was looking so smugged. So instead of saying where, Owen said rocket. Rocket was a secret code word that he and Travis Stumpy had made up to ditch Violet. They had agreed that if one of them said rocket, they would all run as fast as they could to their hiding place down by the train tracks. That's what they said. So that's what they did. They ran as fast as they could out of the barn, across the yard, down the patch, through the woods, around the pond, and they crossed the other side of the train tracks, pushed their way through the scrubby bushes, and crawled up under the branches of the enormous rotten oak tree that had fallen years ago and laid it against the pine tree, forming a perfect teepee. The boys were gasped and laughing, high-fived each other when Pete and Larry came sniffing through the bush tails, wagging their noses. "Uh-oh," Owen said. I hope Violet didn't follow them. Owen crawled out of the teepee tree and looked around. No sign of Violet. Good. He thought. Then the time had come. He was going to tell Travis and Stumpy about the thing that has fallen off the train. Chapter 5.